Now to the legal battles involving former President Trump. A judge has denied his request to halt his civil fraud trial. Trump and his organization have already been found liable. The former president is appealing that ruling. He had requested to pause proceedings to determine the cost of that fraud while the appeal was heard. That request was denied, but the judge did halt the order that canceled the business certificates of the Trump organization. Earlier, I spoke with CBS News legal contributor Rebecca Roiphe about the case.
Well, in this case, the Attorney General is trying to show that these numbers were intentionally inflated and that this was deceptive in all sorts of ways. And the defense is countering with this argument that, in fact, nobody relied on these numbers, that they were in fact accurate, and that it was not entirely the former president's responsibility, but rather others as well, to take a look and try to figure out whether these numbers were accurate, and therefore he's essentially off the hook.
How many times do we see fraud cases like this go to trial in front of a judge, and how many are generally settled out of court?
It depends. You certainly see some fraud trials go to court, but, a lot of these are document cases. And therefore, either, as we saw in the earlier ruling by the judge, either, essentially decided by the judge separately, or, it's so pared down that the incentive is for the parties to settle in a case like this.
Right. So turning now to the federal election interference case, Trump's legal team has filed a motion to have that dismissed, saying he is protected by presidential privilege. If that's the case, how would that argument work in court?
It's a pretty stunning argument because, we've long known that the Department of Justice has this policy that says that a sitting president can't be charged. And that makes sense because you wouldn't want to make it such that it was impossible for a president to do his job. But this is extending that argument to suggest that a president can never be charged, even once he is no longer president, for certain acts. And so the argument goes like this, essentially. It says that turning the special counsel's argument on its head and saying, in fact, this was not the former president trying to interfere with an election, but rather trying to ensure election integrity. And as such, he was just simply doing what he's supposed to do as a president. And presidents have an obligation to make sure that the laws are faithfully executed. So that's part of his obligations. Now, of course, that relies on, a certain factual premise, which is that was, in fact, what he was doing, rather than what has been charged by the special counsel, which was that he was actively interfering in an election, not trying to ensure its integrity, but in fact doing the opposite.
Just in the final 30 seconds, how much is it going to matter in the election interference cases what then President Trump was thinking at the time about the fraud? I feel like this is an argument that's finally coming to the fore, this question of intent, motivation, and what he understood to be the facts at the time.
It matters in certain ways, and in other ways it doesn't. So, take this comparison. If you think that your neighbor, stole your jewelry, and you break into their house late at night and steal it back, you're not allowed to do that. There are legal means for correcting this wrong, and that's not one of them. So, in a certain way, it doesn't matter whether he thought that the election had been stolen if what he was doing was in fact illegal. On the other hand, there are certain charges where, his specific intent matters. And so in those instances, I think it is very important. And no matter what, I think the jury will care about that fact and whether or not the special counsel can prove that he himself was aware of this. There's some evidence, that he said, what Sidney Powell, one of the attorneys, was telling him was absurd and crazy in private, and then in public, pursuing those same allegations.
Rebecca Roiphe, thank you so much for your legal analysis.
Thank you.